Welcome to the FiveStack, where my friend Zev Shalev, one of the greatest producers in the history of producing television shows in Canada and the United States, now turned like maybe the most venerable investigative reporter on the planet. I know you get a little smug, but it's fucking true. And he is my knight in shining armor every day at 3:00 right here. He and I get together and we count down the 5 biggest stories of the day with you, for you, because we are you. And we have some absolute humdingers today. We got some fallout from the generals meeting. And by the way, I've got a laundry list of comments that certain people in the audience make, so you might want to stick around with that. And for that, we've got another Trump scam and grift to get to. We've got the government shutdown to get to. We've got a lot to get to, Zev. Where do you, in your professional wisdom, want to start today?
Well, let's begin at number 5. That meeting yesterday was such a rip-roaring success for the Secretary of Defense and the President. That's the Defense Secretary has followed this up today by implementing mandatory polygraph testing and non-disclosure agreements for over 5,000 Pentagon personnel, including 4-star generals and administrative assistants. It's an unprecedented crackdown on leaks and internal dissent. This is according to the Washington Post. The draft policy from Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Feinberg would require random lie detector tests and NDA prohibiting release of any non-public information without approval and with violations punishable through the military justice system. National security lawyers call it intimidation. Of course it is. But after that meeting, you'd want everyone to be dead quiet about everything that was going on inside the Pentagon.
Yeah. Listen, what happened yesterday, we kind of, broke it down in yesterday's FiveStack, which everybody can go watch on either one of our channels on Substack, narrative.org, deanblundell.substack.com, was tantamount to a military coup, a soft military coup, where Pete Hegseth, who has a terrible fucking service record with the U.S. military, who's been elevated after serving a really distinguished drunk Fox News weekend anchor career, was elevated to be the Secretary of Defense, now the Secretary of War. He wants to remake it in what he thinks the image needs to be. Keep in mind, this is a gentleman who's no stranger to NDAs and lie detectors because he's had to do several of them for sexual assault, fathering children out of wedlock, raping a babysitter, that kind of stuff.
Just in his last job as well, he had all those accusations against him. So he needed that. He's a professional.
Yeah, and then he understands the purpose of polygraphs and NDAs for people that like to tell the truth about what he's doing and Donald Trump are trying to do. So after this meeting, all of these generals file out, admirals, high-ranking chief petty officers. And to a man, from what I understand, we'll get to it in a little bit, they all went, what the fuck was that, dude? Lady, people, military people, career military people, smartest military minds in America. What the fuck was that? So when you bomb like Pete Hegseth bombed, and then you bomb like Donald Trump bombs, and you're getting incendiary feedback from 800 people that think you and your boss are a couple of cretinous cocks, okay? Mm-hmm. You take it to the next level. That next level is polygraphs for everybody, NDAs for everybody, oaths of loyalty for everybody, which is also on the table. And that's where we stand today, because that's how terribly yesterday's meeting at Quantico went, which you can read about on Zev's feed. You can read about it on my feed. You can read about it on Lev's feed. And to a degree, a little different, but all the same, that was an unmitigated fucking disaster yesterday.
A complete disaster. I mean, they don't even have to be speaking about it. They just had to keep their silence, these 800 generals, because their silence spoke volumes. I mean, it was just such a terrible reception by the very senior team that was there. 800 of the most decorated people in the American military. You've flown in from around the world, current serving ones, plus their executive staff. They were also there, also the future of the military. And, and they just did nothing. They sat there in stony silence. And there's a photograph in the New York Times. I'll put it up as well on narrative.org in a bit. Just the faces of these generals. And it is, it just says everything. They were.
Can I do the general face? The general face? This was it.
So even more. It was more like, what the hell is going on here? So, this is an indicator that, yes, Trump and Hegseth are trying to do a soft coup and failed. but it's also an indicator that this is the weakest president ever. This man is not just like the emperor with no clothes. He's the emperor with, no clothes, but doing a fashion show in the middle of prime time. Like this is guy with zero power. He's operating with nothing. And, we've spoken about this before, and I did an analysis that I'll put up on Narrative after the show. But looking at all these other big dictators of our modern times, and the best one is really Orban to compare him to. There is not Orban was really popular when he did all these fast dictatorial changes to his government there and to the way Hungary works. Trump is trying to do the same thing. Like he's trying to do like everything at breakneck speed, but he doesn't have the popular support. And because of that, he's just this vacant thing. He's just operating with no power at all. And that is what we learned yesterday. And I think that was the biggest mistake the Trump administration has ever done, to do that and to do that in a televised way. It backfired spectacularly on Hegseth and on Trump because everybody knows now the military is not with him, won't be with him, isn't interested in being with him. He has no clothes.
And he knows now, Hegseth knows now, thus NDAs, polygraphs for 5,000 fucking generals, admirals, chief petty officers, their assistants, and their entire support staff. This is an end run. And he got feedback, and I'll share with you some of the feedback because it's from a post that I put together today where I actually went out and aggregated some comments and content from people that I know. They went out and actually asked some people that were at the meeting, some very high-ranking officials that are connected to Canadian high-ranking officials that are connected to American high-ranking officials.
Yeah, they know.
After the whole thing, they called it gallows humor, some of them. Military pressure valve when civilians play toy soldier with real institutions. That was one of the comments. Here's a few more anonymous feedback comments from people that were at the Trump Hegseth bullshit show at Quantico yesterday. And I quote, and this is widely shared, could have been an email. One high-ranking admiral called it, quote, press conference in camo. Another one said loyalty test to a felon with shitty catering. Another one said War Department for a bullshit culture war. It won't ever happen. Another comment, what a fucking embarrassment and waste of our time. And this was my favorite comment, and I'm not going to attribute it to anybody because they're going to have to fucking answer for themselves when they stand in front of this giant orange dictator. A soft military coup by a draft dodger and a drunk. Those are the general sentiments of over 800 of the most important military personnel in America right now.
Yeah.
Therefore, going back to the original 5 of the top 5 in the FiveStack, where Pete Hegseth wants lie detectors and NDAs, now you know why. Yesterday went over like a fucking lead balloon, and he now needs to go root those people out.
Well, he needs to find out who sent those comments, right? Because it's so accurately true about what, not that he needs to, because it was televised for everybody to see, The other thing is putting that out live. You'd have a meeting like that in private probably, but to then broadcast it to the world because you think you're going to be, hailed as a hero, some alpha male after all of this thing.
Yeah.
And then it backfires so spectacularly. So, I mean, he just needs to look at himself. It's time for Hegseth to go, and anyone who thinks otherwise is kidding themselves, and it's probably only one person, that's Pete Hegseth, that thinks he should still keep the job. I mean,
do you know what
clearly,
can I just insert this comment here? Listen, I've lived a couple of different lives. Everybody has, right? When you are a fraud, specifically back when I was drinking a lot, several years ago, and I felt terrible about myself. I knew I wasn't up to snuff with the people that I was hanging around with anymore. Deep down, every fraud knows they're a fraud. And for a lot of frauds, that fraudulence is a game, right? But deep down, they all know. And the stories that we're hearing that are starting to come out on the Daily Beast and a couple of other websites now about Pete Hegseth being manic, surrounding himself with 500-600 secret security detail. showing up to an event where people who have accomplished things he would only ever fucking dream to accomplish. Same with Donald Trump, a draft dodging, bone spur felon, rapist, who's standing in front of some of the most important, virtuous people in the world. They know they are frauds. And so all you have to do to understand how poorly that went yesterday is to think about the idea, just the idea, that Pete Hegseth has to submit every single person that was there and their entire support staff to NDAs and lie detector tests because they got fucking punched out yesterday as the frauds that they know they are.
Yeah. Yeah, to protect themselves, these two people, they are now going to spend all this energy and time figuring out which generals had negative comments to say about the people about the show that they put on yesterday, which was a self-serving piece of nothing show. But it's, they can spend all that time. They'll find a lot of those generals are not interested, if not all of those generals are not interested in what they're offering. And I didn't think that I did not hear any comments suggesting that Donald Trump's offer to everybody was even acceptable. I mean, not a single voice came out, not even on Fox News, saying "rah rah, well done, Donald Trump, you did so well. Absolutely, send the troops into Chicago next week." You didn't get any of that.
No.
I didn't get any of that from anywhere. So even his home turf doesn't like it. So it was a giant flop. It may be the last days of Pete Hegseth. It should be the last days of Pete Hegseth. I mean, you got to imagine the senators and who are watching all this, also some of them very distinguished veterans and who are on the military armed and the Armed Services Committee, are all questioning what this guy is doing there as the Secretary of Defense. It looks terrible for America.
You know who we miss in a moment like this is John McCain. Mm-hmm. Right? We miss a prisoner of war, decorated war veteran, someone who turned his nose and thumb down and up to Donald Trump over the first attempt to tube the Affordable Care Act back in 2017, if you remember this correctly. And we miss people like him, to your point, people that have served with distinction in the United States military who are now in positions of authority in the Senate and the House, right? You have some of those, but the feckless ones on the GOP/Trump regime side, they understand that they've never had it better, right? They've never had it better with black cars and, paid expense accounts and free places to live and stipends and a $240,000 a year salary just for agreeing to do whatever the fat fuck that is in the White House says you have to do. And so, a guy like John McCain was immune to that shit. He didn't give a crap. He didn't care. He knew he was held by the people of Arizona. He knew he was a legend in military circles for the abuse that he suffered at the hands of the Viet Cong. He knew. But we don't have any people like that have those stripes anymore.
Well, we do. I mean, there's people like Mark Kelly who's inside. You got
Democrat.
Tammy Duckworth is another
Democrat.
Democrats. Yeah, I mean, Warner's.
I'm talking
Democrats,
like McCain was a fucking died in the world Republican.
I mean, I don't even know. There must be some on the Republican side. I just can't even think of any.
There isn't. There's not one.
Yeah, there is. There isn't maybe anymore. It's so sad. It's such an indictment on them. But still, this man, can you imagine if we actually got into a major international crisis right now? If China or someone tried to invade America, if there was even just a little skirmish on one of our little, corners of the world that we control, would you want Pete Hegseth to be in charge of anything at that time?
No.
Would you? He's very dangerous in that position. I mean, clearly, just from a national security perspective, he's not just even incompetent. He's just a disaster. He could actually hurt us. And so he shouldn't be there. And if there's a call that should be being made, is that man needs to be fired. That man needs to be out of his job. And it's not just for this; it's for Signalgate, and then letting Elon Musk hear the Chinese invasion plans. How America was going to defend against it. It's ridiculous. This man does not know what he's doing, and the rank and file, and definitely the generals, are not buying anything that he's putting down. So he's got no respect. He's got to go.
No, and you know what? There's something you can do to the rank and file men and women of the American military, the U.S. military. There's lots you can do. What you can't do is pretend you're one of them. It's called stolen valor. And that is exactly what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are attempting to do, which is snatch their valor, which is to stand on the shoulders of very fucking serious men and women who have put their lives on the line for generations, decades and generations, and they want to call themselves tall at this point. And every man and woman in uniform was opposed to what happened yesterday, violently opposed to what happened yesterday. And every general and admiral and chief petty officer that left that room, from my understanding, yet some that were like rah rah, but very few. The vast majority of people that were there yesterday looked at what Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump did, trying to co-opt their oath, trying to co-opt their conviction, trying to co-opt their commitment to the American people as stolen valor, which is that is the ultimate sin to a man or woman in uniform.
It's a great term to use for this. Well done for bringing that up. And, I actually, Democrats who can do two things at one time. They can also be about shutdowns, and they can also do this other thing. They should be out there calling for this man to resign, because, I don't get why
they have. I mean, J.B. Pritzker came
20
out today and said that guy needs to resign.
That's Pritzker.
And the 25th Amendment needs to be employed when it comes to Donald Trump immediately after what he saw today.
But not Pritzker. I want to see someone from the senators, from the National Democrats, stand up there and say, we don't think this man is fit for duty anymore. And Donald Trump has only one thing to do here. He's got to fire this guy. I mean, that statement needs to be put out by senators, by people who are, fitting that rank. Because I just, it's a stolen valor thing. He sums it up perfectly. But he's an imposter. He's not fit for this.
He's a charlatan.
He's a charlatan. Fox News weekend host.
Yeah,
just not worthy. Just not worthy of this position. Absolutely not.
No, we know that.
Number 4 on the countdown is so this is a Canadian story. No, sorry, it's a different one. The Supreme Court temporarily blocked Trump's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook.
Yeah, did you see that today? That was huge.
Yeah. Announcing it will hear the case in January while allowing her to remain in her position. Trump has accused Cook of mortgage fraud without criminal charges, and documents obtained by the Washington Post appear to contradict the administration's claims. The move represents an aggressive campaign to gain control over the politically independent central bank that sets interest rates. It's a temporary ruling. Doesn't mean that they'll follow through in it, but it certainly is another big loss for President Trump and at the Supreme Court level.
Yeah, which he doesn't lose very often at the Supreme Court level, does he? I mean, today, color me shocked. Yeah. But this wasn't a, and keep in mind, this wasn't a stay of execution for Lisa Cook. Yeah. This was, hey, we're going to hold this over until January, and then we're going to have a deeper conversation about Lisa Cook. The Federal Reserve is supposed to be independent for a lot of people that don't understand. And I think, unfortunately, we talk past people sometimes. And I know this is the smartest group of Substack live watchers on Substack right now. So I don't mean to talk down to you. Apologies if I do. But effectively, the Fed is supposed to be separate from the government, because the people in the government that have access to public funds, IPOs, all the other shit, they have the ability to move markets. We saw it with Donald Trump during the great tariff escape of the first 9 months of his regime, where, he would tell people it's a great time to buy, and then he would take tariffs off the day before silently, and all of his cabal would make a bunch of money. Marjorie Taylor Greene, him, Lutnick, Nutlick, all those guys, they would make a ton of money. And that is why the Fed is separate, because they don't want people ginning up government employees, people like Donald Trump. They don't want what we're seeing happen. And so Donald Trump's ability to be able to put people on blast, and he's been doing this with Lisa Cook, and he goes back to the same well, which is mortgage fraud. So he did the same thing with Letitia James.
He knows how to do that.
Yeah.
He's an expert.
Mortgage fraud, they have to have committed it, because I commit it every day. So let's get after these people that have more than one home. And so he went after Lisa Cook, and Lisa Cook, she did what she should have done. And at the end of the day, I truly believe that it's going to be women that stand up to Donald Trump. They are going to be his downfall. Lisa Cook was like, fuck you. It's in the Constitution. We're separate from you. I'm going to keep my job. You can replace me all you want and bring your guy in. We're just going to ignore him. And that's exactly what he did. So the Supreme Court decision today actually shocked me. because the Supreme Court traditionally likes to side with the president, because the Supreme Court, in their ultimate wisdom a couple of years ago, decided that Donald Trump and every president has immunity for all the things they do and can kind of do whatever the fuck they want. So now they're on a case by case basis. Lisa Cook's case is bulletproof when it comes to how laws are written about why the Fed sits apart from the government, and they can do nothing other than revisit this in January. The hope here is that they stick to the revision and they say, okay, yeah, we can't do anything. And they get through the shutdown, which obviously the government is shut down now. It's now like 13 hours, 14 hours of the first government shutdown in 7 years. We'll get to some of that in a minute. But good for Lisa Cook, because lesser men would have walked away with their tail between their legs, my friend.
Yes, and that's really a well done explanation. I feel like Lisa Cook is going to be one of those figures that we look back on as being one of the people who stood up to Donald Trump, like the generals yesterday in the same kind of way. These are the people that are going to, when we look at the final analysis of why Donald Trump has been a complete failure and why his favorability numbers are in the toilet across the board, and why he's actually trying to become a dictator only by performing like a dictator, not by actually being a dictator. We're going to realize that it's these people who stood their ground and held the line in terms of their position, in terms of the Constitution, understanding what the Constitution really says and why it says the things it says, why there is a separation of powers. And, they can swear up and down that they've told him that he's immune from prosecution, but he is not immune from impeachment. And once he loses this next year's elections, I don't know. This guy has got a real problem. That's why he's operating at such breakneck speed to try and be this dictator that he can't be, because he knows the electorate is about to boot him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, his approval rating today, I read 31%. That was another approval rating number that I read today. 33%, another approval rating I read today, was 36% at the start of the week. It's such a great point, Zev, is that, frauds understand when they're frauds. And real frauds like him that have real power like he does will turn every screw to their advantage. There's an old meme that stands true, and I think this is a great way to wrap up the story. When he has an executive order and he holds it up even though he's never read it, right? And then people fuck around with those things. There was one that someone turned into a meme, and on the executive order it says, "I will burn this fucking place to the ground to prevent myself from going to jail." That is all this is. He will burn it all to the ground. And holy shit, I had very few expectations of the Trump regime, but he has surpassed or exceeded every single one of them to the negative at this point.
Meanwhile, in Canada, at number 3, the U.S. far-right propaganda machine is spreading lies about Canada's gun policy, with Tim Pool amplifying false claims that Canada is confiscating all firearms by 2026. In reality, Canada launched a compensation program for specific assault-style weapons that were already prohibited years ago, with an amnesty period ending in October 2026. So apparently Tim Pool feels like we're not doing that. We're taking away everyone's guns. Not true, but you know the story because it's from deanblundell.substack.com. What's going on?
Yeah, Canada doesn't have 48,022 mass shooting gun deaths a year. Reason why we don't have it is because owning a gun is a privilege in this country. Might come as a shock to Americans. 3/4 of this audience today is American. And so let me explain how gun laws work in Canada. Owning a gun in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our founding documents, is a privilege, not a right. We don't have a Second Amendment. The reason why we don't have a Second Amendment has nothing to do with, the idea that some militia will come and the government's going to come and get you, so you need to have your guns. That was a Civil War era, that was a 1776 nation building fucking amendment that was put in the Second Amendment, and everybody understands that. Canada was founded 159 years ago, right? Just so everybody understands, we're a pretty young country. And we actually had smarter people back in the day go, whoa. More guns means more gun deaths. And so we restricted gun ownership. We've got incredible background checks. And in the United States, they operate according to the opposite, which is where you're born, you have the God given right to go and buy a firearm. It is written into, it is the Second Amendment. The first is free speech. The second is, by the way, you get a gun. You get a gun. You get a gun. How many guns you need? How many guns you want? Everybody can own a gun. That doesn't exist here in Canada. Now, the reason why it doesn't exist in Canada, other than we're smarter, is because we like our kids to go to school in confidence, right? We want to take as many guns out of circulation as possible. And so Canada has this gun buyback program, which was started about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where you get between $400 and $2,000 for your gun, depending on the gun it is. You voluntarily bring that gun in, and you will get paid for it. You will get cash money. And it specifically targets illegal guns and assault weapons. What are illegal guns and assault weapons? They're rapid fire guns that have a chamber of more than 5 to 10 bullets that you can fire off at any point in time, that are meant for killing people. AR-15s are not meant for hunting deer. Handguns are not meant for hunting deer. Automatic assault rifles are not meant for hunting deer or protecting yourself from the elements. We live in one of the hardiest backwoods, undefined countries in the world. So when every single human being in the United States goes, well, we don't understand that, let me explain it to you. It's really, really simple. Everybody in Canada can order a gun, can purchase a gun prior to having a background check that says you're not a psycho, you didn't threaten anybody online, you've got a complete background check for mental illness, for criminal activity, all the things that would deem your privilege to be a right in this country. But you got to pass a whole bunch of different things to be able to get there. For those legal gun owners, I say good for you. But I also say, and this is what the government of Canada is saying, which is you don't need weapons of war. It doesn't matter how much you love fucking pulling the trigger at your fucking gun range. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how cool you want to feel, like you're a cutout from a Call of Duty scene.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What matters is that there are Canadians here and people in this country that don't understand or deserve to be on the other end of an assault rifle or a fucking handgun. The handgun ban interests me because handgun ban is frozen. You can keep them, you can't transfer them, you can't sell them, but we're not selling handguns anymore. I have never seen any of my hunting friends, and I have lots. I grew up in Alberta and Saskatchewan. I've hunted quail. I've hunted deer. I've shot coyotes, mangy coyotes. I've shot lots of animals.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I've got no problem with it. I really don't. Pestilence, for food, for sustenance. I have zero problem with it. Good for you, good for them, good for everybody. You want to be someone that lives on the land, good for you. And that was where I came from. I understood it. But I have never gone hunting with someone that had a .357 Magnum to shoot a fucking deer or a Glock or a handgun of any variety. Canada's smarter because of it. And Tim Pool spent the weekend trying to gin up Americans into thinking that Canada was coming to take all the guns. Not only is it not true, it is one of the fucking greatest lies ever told about Canada. There are 30 million guns in this country, 30 million in the hands of generally law-abiding citizens that should own a gun, that want a gun, that are responsible gun owners. We also have an illegal gun issue in Canada. The majority of guns used to murder people in this country come from, wait
the
for
United
it,
States
the
of
United
America.
States of America.
Tim Pool is a Russian, provocateur, and they probably have people in a lab in Moscow or in St. Petersburg, finding ways to find stories that are going to impact both the Canadian right wing and the American right wing, and they try to find the exact medium point that story will hit, and then they saw this gun story and thought, well, we can gin that up, turn it into another lie that Tim Pool and everybody else can spread, and hopefully amplify some of the right wing, or at least intensify the right wing in Canada and in the United States around this issue. But as you point out, it's a total fabrication, a complete lie. He's a Russian stooge, and everybody knows it now. So maybe Tim Pool needs to find another way of making money.
And let me just say this. Tim Pool did it by retweeting a guy named James Morrison who owns an account called Wall Street Sylv if you remember this guy, Wall
Yeah, yeah,
Street
yeah.
Silv. Yeah.
This is not a good guy.
No, he is a convicted criminal. He has been convicted of extortion. He has taken money from all kinds of foreign countries. So to your point, yes, Russian stooge Tim Pool retweeted more Russian stoogery to try to convince conservatives and gun owners of this country that Canada's coming for your guns. We're not at all. At all.
No, number two, the federal government is shut down at 12:01 a.m. Wednesday after Senate Democrats blocked a Republican funding extension, refusing to reopen until the GOP agrees to extend Affordable Care. The Affordable Care Act, the Affordable Care Act subsidies, I should say, set to expire at year's end. But this shutdown is fundamentally different. White House Budget Director Russell Vought ordered agencies to consider mass firings rather than furloughs. Of course, now we know that's illegal. And Trump explicitly told reporters we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them, like cutting vast numbers of people out. He can't. The administration is also using the shutdown to withhold $18 billion from New York's transportation projects. Those are the much anticipated Second Avenue subway line and the Hudson Tunnel, in an apparent retaliation against Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
It sounds like they really don't want the shutdown, the Republicans.
Well, it sounds like they want their cake and they also want to eat it too, right? Listen, they engineered this shutdown. They own every level of government, every branch, every executive branch, from the White House, the Senate, to the House. So, of course, they want this shutdown. And the reason why they want this shutdown is for every single principle that you just leveled in your introduction of this story, is that they can do whatever they want. They can enact whatever they want or think they can, and they can scare everybody. They can scare 150,000 employees, some 750,000 employees, every Democrat that happens to be a public employee. They can scare the city of New York into not voting for Zohran Mamdani. They can scare every single person because the guy that's doing the scaring, Russell Vought, is the architect of Project 2025. This is right up his alley. He wants this. He wants the chaos. Trump wants the chaos. Everybody in the Trump regime wants the chaos of this government shutdown, which is in its 14th hour at this point. Again, last time this happened was 7 years ago. The fascinating part is the open air bribery that's going on, and the idea that Donald Trump and his regime are somehow going to truth or Twitter social their way out of this thing. They're not. They tried to fucking get an amendment to get the budget passed, a short-term budget today. Democrats are like, go fuck yourself. We're not doing that. But the interesting part here is the lengths he's willing to go to pull triggers to hurt people in New York, St. Louis, California, anywhere he can, to convince everybody that Democrats are the people that shut the government down, when in no way did they have anything to do with it. They just said, we can't fund your terrorism, dude. We can't fund ICE. We can't fund your Medicaid cuts. It's going to kill people. We just can't fucking do it.
And the reason why they want to hang it on Democrats so badly is because a lot of the people who receive Medicaid and Medicare benefits are, in fact, in red states. And they are desperately worried about losing them in the next election. Because, as we've been saying all hour here, this guy is doing so poorly in the approval ratings. He is looking so weak in even some red states that it looks like it will drag the entire GOP down. So they want the shutdown. They absolutely want the shutdown so they could do what they want and pretend to be dictators and break the law blazingly and whatever they need to do. But they also wanted to appear like it's the Democrats' fault so they don't lose too much support in those red states. But of course, people are wiser than this, and people are beginning to see their show for what it is. And if the generals can see their show for what it is, and everyone got to see that publicly yesterday, then everybody's going to see very quickly that the Democrats are not the people fighting against, in favor of these healthcare cuts.
No, and the Democrats want the government to continue to be in business, because what did we lose this week? We lost the swearing in of Adelita Grijalva, Adelita Grijalva from Arizona, the 218th signature on the, discharge petition, Jeffrey Epstein discharge petition. So we don't get that. Oversight gone. the Tom Homan investigation into his bribery gone. All the things that could hurt Donald Trump are gone now. They just don't exist because we're not having this conversation. And the fascinating part is today was supposed to also be the day that we were going to get Mike Johnson's Grindr profile.
I was wondering why everyone was yelling Grindr at me on the chat. I was like, really?
They were yelling it at you. They were like, hey, what about Grindr? And the guy that threatened him hasn't put it out yet. I don't know if he will. He's tripled down as of yesterday, where he's like, hey, I've given the information to a reporter. Several of my friends have it. It's called the dead man switch. Should anything happen to me, all that stuff gets put out. But, there's so much heat around, the idea that they shut down the government because they wanted the government shut down. Mike Johnson doesn't have to swear anybody in. The Epstein discharge petition doesn't get released. The House Oversight Committee, they stop working, and nobody holds any press conferences to talk about what's going on. What could be more perfect for a guy like Donald Trump than a government shutdown?
Yeah, no, it is working. I don't think by the way, this Grindr stuff is that, we spoke about this already, but it's not news per se or new to anybody. But it's interesting that there's so much interest in it. I got to say, I can't believe how many people are just waiting for the truth about Mike Johnson. But we all know Mike Johnson is probably gay. I mean, it's not going to be a secret to, you're not going to be shocking anybody. He's likely gay. I mean, you can sort of see it. Not that you want to stereotype, but you do sort of see it. So
how do you let me ask you a question. As a gay man, how do you I think I've got pretty good gaydar, but you've probably got incredible gaydar, right? Like when you look at a guy like Mike Johnson, what triggers your gaydar with him?
I mean, he seems very lovely, doesn't he? It seems like you could have dinner with him. You'd have a good conversation. He doesn't seem like he's going to get into a fight with you at the end of the dinner. Does he? I don't know.
But is it his face? Is it his walk? And I don't want to get into stereotypes here. Is it what you know about him that you're attaching to him? Like, what is it? What are the markers that you're like?
I mean, he's a little
probably.
Everything I'm going to say is going to sound like I'm I'm stereotyping, but I can't even because
you're gay, so you can do it. I can't. I'm not.
No, I can't say he's like a little light in his loafers. That expression, that kind of thing. I can't say that because that would be prejudicial and not the right thing to say.
Light in the loafers. You sound like my dad.
I don't know what else to say about how to describe that. I mean, he's a little bit
Someone
flamboyant.
said on Twitter today, they're
flamboyant?
Like, flamboyant, fabulous. He looks fabulous.
Yeah.
Someone said
nice
today,
suits, they fit well.
Someone said today that he has gay face, and I'm like, what is gay face? I don't even know what gay face is.
He's got gay face for sure. He's got gay face.
Does he? Okay. Yeah. Well, what is gay face? Can you explain that to me? Because I don't disagree. When I look at him, I'm like,
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't say what the origins of gay face are, or how you detect a gay face. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a gay face? Do you think you have a gay face?
I don't know. I just got a face. I don't know what constitutes gay face.
Well, I wouldn't either. I mean, I don't know. I can't even put words out of my mouth when you bring up these topics. So I will say, I think he's pretty gay. I think that's just how you could just say that's what you look. Who can explain the way we people biometrically, hormonally, or whatever it is, whatever triggers are going off, they're going off with this guy. So
I think I would kind of liken it to when a bunch of scientists get together, right? And some guy walks in the room. They don't know if he's a scientist, and they talk to him for a couple of minutes, or they size him up, and all the scientists are like, that guy's probably a scientist. Kind of the same thing, right? Like he hits
kind of the same
certain scientist markers, but this guy has got gay face.
It's like when Hegseth walks into the room and addresses a bunch of generals pretending that he knows something about military valor, and he doesn't.
Probably not. Yeah.
They know. Yeah, they know he's not a general.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. See, he's a straight fraud.
Yeah, a complete fraudster. The number one story, speaking of complete fraudsters, is an amazing story from deanblundell.substack.com. Trump and Pfizer are launching TrumpRX, a government website offering discounted drugs with the presidential brand, complete with a tariff waiver for the pharmaceutical partner. But the White House refuses to disclose who owns the trademark, whether the Trump family receives licensing fees or revenue shares, or any financial details of the arrangement. Online rumors suggest the Trump family could receive 5 to 10% of sales, potentially $500 million at launch, according to these estimates. This is the most egregious, most corrupt thing you've ever seen in your life, but it's not beyond the Trump family to do this. Dean, what is going on with TrumpRX?
Yeah, TrumpRX is a website that sells direct-to-consumer drugs that are branded with.
I just can't. I can't. It's like they're a parody of themselves. They're beyond satire because they just do the worst things possible every day, and you can't
In the
take
open.
them seriously in
In
the
the open. He made this announcement in the Oval Office yesterday where he's like, I've teamed up with Pfizer. It's going to be the best. We're going to get you some drugs. It's going to be so cheap. And it's all part of this new website called TrumpRX. How much is he making from that, do you think? And listen, I've got the numbers.
Okay. Yeah.
5 to 10% of everything that's sold on TrumpRX goes to him. He's already got a big pharma partner in Pfizer. And apparently this means immediately in terms of licensing to the Trump family from the research that I've done, which he announced with a government seal. He's got a .gov a website account for this. This is a fucking government website. .gov. 500 million. Yes, sir. $500 million to the Trump family.
So let me get this straight. He is taking Medicare and Medicaid benefits away from people who can't afford their drugs, can't afford medical care of any sort. And he's lining his own pockets with $500 million.
Moving it online. Yeah. And then he's forcing everything to go through him. Yeah.
Selling medication to the people that he's taking Medicare and healthcare from.
You got it.
Okay. I got it now. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just crazy, but it's...
Well, you don't have to say anything about it. All you have to say is this is just more corruption from the Trump crime family. I mean, it is. This was one of the more brazen announcements, and it was kind of lost in the hullabaloo yesterday of, his whole thing about, I'm going to go after Democrats and cut all their jobs during the government shutdown. Fuck you guys. And his dressing down of 800 of the most highly decorated military officials in the United States of America. At Quantico yesterday, there was this announcement that he made where he's like, we're doing a deal with Pfizer under the auspices that he's going to give you all free drugs. Listen, if you're of the opinion that Donald Trump is going to somehow pass savings on to you when he stands to make money, you're fucking insane. And if you think Pfizer is going to go, great deal, Trump, we're finally going to give them affordable drugs when we've been hosing everybody for 100 years, you're also fucking insane. This is 100% one of the more, like, it's right up there with the Qatari jet. Like right up there, which, by the way, Qatar just got like a full immunity from the U.S. military today, where Trump guaranteed anybody who attacks you, I will get them because of that $500 million palace in the sky. Same thing now with Pfizer. He's got Pfizer on board, and he's got other drug companies that are on board going, let's sell direct to consumer through TrumpRX, a government website where he gets $500 million up front. And 5 to 10% of every Zoloft / boner pill, anything, but a diabetic medication, cancer medication, anything that goes through TrumpRX. And that might have been, in a week that was disgusting, the most heinously disgusting, horrifically disgusting piece of self-enrichment news we've heard about the Trump regime today.
And then he does this the week after he tells everyone that Tylenol is bad for everybody?
You got it.
Which I bet you is not made by Pfizer.
No, made by Kenvue, Johnson & Johnson. Yeah,
because that's just the way he rolls, right? Suddenly everyone who's not Pfizer is going to be his enemy. The audacity of this man to even, he calls Democrats in big cities the enemy within. This is, he's busy identifying through AI every single liberal-minded person in America as a terrorist and labeling them a terrorist. So, and these are the people he's weaponizing the entire military and the entire intelligence and the law and order departments of America to go after is these enemies within, which are kind, loyal, principled Democrats from around North America who've been fighting for their constitution for the last 8 years against this guy. Yeah. And he has the audacity to do that. And then he commits these absolute crimes in public, inside the Oval Office, being as corrupt as he possibly can, while stealing from the very poor of the country and enriching himself on a daily basis. It is beyond belief. I mean, it has gotten to the point where it's just like, this is the guy. This is the only enemy within. This guy, Donald Trump, is the enemy.
Yep.
And this guy needs to go. I mean, there's no other thing. And the best news that up today, and all my research that I did today, is that he is tanking in the polling. He is a failed dictator. He is being a pretend dictator. He has zero clothes on. The emperor has no clothes. He can be taken down. So America, enjoy the next few months as you just protest your hearts out and enjoy getting this man out of power, because he is the enemy. He really is the enemy within.
You know, this story was the perfect story to wrap up the FiveStack today with, when we talk about the criminality, the collusion, when we talk about the Trump crime family, when we talk about what he's in this for. He was never in this, and still isn't in this, to protect or to help the American people. Donald Trump has been laid bare to be a con man and a grifter and a liar and a rapist and a felon, who will stop at nothing to hide in plain sight his criminality. This deal for TrumpRX, which he announced in the fucking People's Office, in the Oval Office, on company time, under the guise that he was going to make drugs cheaper for Americans. In no way is he doing that. What he announced yesterday, that he was now stepping in the middle in that supply/money chain, which Big Pharma has enjoyed for a long period of time. And he's inserting himself into that process between people that need life-saving medication and drug companies that have been killing, hosing, destroying lives with that medication for over 100 years. Trump never gave a shit about making drugs cheaper. What Trump gave a shit about, and which is clearly playing out today with this announcement of TrumpRX, is how do I get my hands on that shit? Yeah. How do I insert myself in the supply chain for that shit? If Trump was around when the Sacklers were murdering people with OxyContin and Percocets, Trump wouldn't have just given them a free pass. He would have figured out a way to make it look like he was helping end the opioid epidemic. But what he's really trying to do is insert himself in the process of enriching himself with the opioid epidemic.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. You know, there's another story today to make into the countdown about him firing a contractor in El Salvador because they were finding out that Bukele, his dictator friend from El Salvador, is actually MS-13 aligned. And there was an American prosecuting team that was trying to figure that out. So they pulled the contractor, who was one of the people involved in revealing that information. It's a great story, but it just tells you that's exactly the way his mind operates. He'll go and he'll befriend the gangsters and the con men and the thieves that are busy doing the crime. And then on the other hand, he'll pretend that he's doing something to stop it. And that's exactly what he does over and over again. He's done it all the way.
It's his MO. That's who he is.
He is. Slime, absolute slime ball. It's no other way to describe that, man.
Well said. Well said.
That is the countdown for today. It is, Wednesday, October 1. Are you still on sale? Are you on
Yeah, dude. So we had to re-engineer some pricing. However, we still have 50% off annual subscriptions over.
Re-engineering mean? Is that?
Well, it's, you know what, we have a bunch of people here that do a bunch of different stuff with us and for us, and so re-engineering pricing means 50% off of annual subscriptions. Monthly's gone up a tiny bit. Founding plan's still basically the same. You never pay again. But I really felt it necessary to keep that discounted price for annual memberships and unlimited access to all of our content intact. So those are still there for the entire month of October. Listen, you're our lifeblood. We're so grateful. Free or paid doesn't matter to me. It's just about sharing this content. It's about supporting each other, but more importantly, it's about keeping the machine going. So if you're free or paid, great. Doesn't matter to me. Paid keeps us on the line, which is why I wanted to make sure that, knowing that you drive this Substack, you drive our intention on a daily basis, that we continue to give something back. So 50% off annual subscriptions for the month of October, the entire month ending on the 31st. But more importantly, like I said, doesn't matter. I'm just grateful for everybody that's here, everybody that spends time with us. So thank you very much for being here today.
You do such great work, and you deserve everything that comes to you. But I also, money that's paid to either Dean Blundell, or to me at narrative.org, all goes right back into the product, and we just expand and try to get more people involved and reach more people. It's very rarely, in my case anyhow, profit taking thing, because I just don't. I just think it's too important right now that we pay that we use whatever we get right now to fund the
Amplify what
fight.
we're doing. Yeah.
And to fund this fight for democracy. It is so critical right now. And I mean, the whole show has been about this, but now is the time to really step up the protesting. Now is the time when we can see that this man is nothing but a paper tiger. There is nothing there behind him. The military just looks at him in that way, stony-faced, for an entire hour and a half yesterday, when they had zero good things to say about what he said yesterday. You know how empty he is, and we can take him down. But it's going to require people getting in the streets. It's going to require people showing how unpopular he is, because right now he's pretending that he's popular, but he ain't. And we know that. You know that. Just get out there and show them that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sharing this goes so much further than anything else with people, because we're the people standing on the front line going, "Hey, dude, you're full of shit. You're fake. Here's why. Here are the receipts of that fraudulent activity. Here are the receipts of your fraudulent presidency. Here's your receipts of how fascist you are, what you're trying to do in Canada's terms to our best friends in the United States of America." So you're sharing, you're subscribing. It keeps us going. And your sharing, more importantly, informs other people about what the truth is, what really matters. So thank you very much for joining us for the FiveStack today. As always, you can take our shit, just don't take our time. You guys give us your time, and it's one of the most incredible gifts you give us on a daily basis every day at 3 o'clock. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. On behalf of my friend Zev Shalev, who is doing some incredible work at narrative.org. By the way, what's your latest? Hit me up. Let me know what you got.
The one I'm doing today is about the Emperor Has No Clothes. That's going to be put up into this next hour. I look into the analysis of all the numbers and exactly why this man is, America can get its country back right now. It really can.
Good. Well, listen, if there's any investigative reporter that you want context from, narrative.org, go and give this man a subscribe. Go and make sure that you share his content. If it resonates with you, I can guarantee you will. We're here for you because we are you. Thank you for joining us for the FiveStack today, everybody. Have a wonderful day and keep telling the truth always. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Ev.
Cheers. Have a good one.